man. There's very few times I've seen that McDonald's that packed.
Yeah. Because that power was back on at like 1 a.m. or something. It was super late.
And it was hot as fuck.
Mm-hmm.
And it was muggy. Oh, yeah, that was a shitty night.
Yeah, it was.
All right. I see Adam's here. So if you guys are ready, I'm ready.
Do it.
I'm going to try and beat this song before... Okay, so... Boys, we are finally fucking here. So, just so you guys know, I am going to go in character alphabetical order here. These songs are queued up, so let's fucking get to it. After session 10, which will have a recap of its own when you guys play session 11, the team parts from Orcificus's mansion and the Mage's District to rest and prepare for their arduous journey towards Fury Keep. Each event that takes place here will be on the night of Sunday, June 13th, 2997, and will lead into Monday the 14th, where session 11 begins. Along with these stories, I'm challenging my players to think of one physical change to their character's appearance to show their growth over time, and Kyle, you specifically will need a D4 this session.
Okay.
On another note entirely, while the details included in this reading will be a continual theme for your character as they grow with you over the duration of the campaign, taking notes may cause you to miss details during this first read. So I encourage you guys to simply sit back and just enjoy what I have prepared. I truly hope that these are as enjoyable for you guys to experience. I hope you guys find these as enjoyable to experience as I did writing them. And as a final note, these readings are timed to music with delicate pacing, so please hold questions until after your individual readings. So without further delay, the evolution stories, starting with Alena. So let me cue up the next song. Perfect. Sometime during the night, the light fades from the world around Alena, the silence of nothingness setting in. During her trance, she never feels like she is quite fully at rest, like there is a semi-conscious pattern of thought, keeping her mind awake and aware. She opens her eyes in frustration and finds herself in a completely different place than where she had first closed her eyes. Around her is an ocean of black and stilted quiet. In front of her is a single column of light, shining down on a seated man. The chair upon which he sits is made of a reflective black stone that glimmers in the column of light, almost like it were made of black snow. The smoky gray armrests and trim line the tall back of the chair where they meet at an arch over the head of this person. The seated individual has nearly pure white skin and sunken features, his bones prominently outlined via his starved body's skin. His long, stringy white hair falls over his face and is caught in his unkempt and bushy white beard, his sunken eyes obscured beneath the shadow of the crown that rests on his head. A crown that appears to be made of some heavy iron and has several triangular points around the top that share a similar gray trim to the chair. Faintly, if at all, Alena can hear words being muttered from his weakened mouth. Venge. Alena takes a step forward to this individual, and she sees a brief flash of Lord Melbourne in her mind, his wicked smile looking down on her dust-covered frame after countless events in the arena. Her focus is commanded back forth from her memory as the man in the chair bellies out the word, vengeance. His voice carrying on in echoes for what feels like hours. The bright silver irises now gleaming forth from the shadowed and deep-set eyes. Gaze upon me, child. Hold no fear, for I am no apparition of wickedness. I am the very spirit of that which seeks merciless restitution of those who act so viciously towards the light. Where you have been scorned, I feel your pain. Where you have been starved, I, too, have felt your hunger. And where your heart desires to strike fear in the one who subjugated you to the point of madness, speak his name.
Lord Melbourne.
As his name is spoken, the letters of his name begin to be written in the air above the withered man's throne, in letters that stand crudely aflame and hover in noiseless silence. I make you this offer, child. Swear all that you are to my name, and with this oath you will have your revenge upon him. In doing so, your body will strengthen and develop, and attune to the ebullience ether that surrounds to use its might on your enemies. I will guide your sword. Hold your enemies down to await your strike, banish them from this realm, and grant you the very power of the angels. Do this and know that the very moment of your death, with your vengeance having been ratified, be it the day, the year, or the decade thereafter, you will take this throne and become the atrophic king. Alena immediately begins to feel her entire body beginning to strain and ache, as though several muscle spasms begin to tighten at once. She falls to her knees and palms as one arm grabs around her stomach, her very bones feeling as though they are too small for her frame. In her wincing pain, she looks up to see the atrophic king now standing in his worn and ragged loincloth, his silver shining irises glaring down at her. My spirit is yours, child. Continue your path, and I shall return. The form of the ghastly man begins to dissipate into a black mist until only the crown remains. Alena watches the heavy iron ring drop in a timeless motion, releasing a heavy clang as it impacts the ground. After repeated bounces on the stone, the crown comes to rest and glimmers in the now fading light. Alena is tempted to reach out and touch this cold-looking metal. As she motions to reach forward, the crown melts into the ground and begins to take the form of the symbol she had not seen prior. What Alena sees is the mark of the crown, the symbol on your coaster, Kyle. And as her arms are willed beyond her to motion forward, Kyle, make 2 fists and keep your palms facing towards yourself. Extend your pinkies and your thumbs outward. Bring your thumbs together and cross them. And bring your elbows together. That is the mark of the atrophic king. And from the view that comes from between Alena's wrists, she now knows, yes, she knows that she can peer through this and gaze upon people around her. Those who peer back with neither curiosity nor strangeness, but with assuredness, are those to whom a common desire for vengeance can be understood. This is the eye of the crown. Yeah.
Interesting.
And Angene. I have to completely change pace for this one, or tone. Angene's mind is able to find peace during a well-deserved night of rest, and he finds a calming peace, if only for a moment, as he finds himself laying down in his own bed in his parents' home in Nekeb. he hears the tones of 1,000 different instruments playing their town anthem dimly, as though the energy of the town itself has grown just as tired as he has. His heavy head turns towards an open window that feels like the only connection to the outside world that Angene has. The window seems to grow and open slowly, as the music Angene can hear changes, but it does not change in the way a tune progresses through a song. It changes in feeling. Like hearing one's favorite song in a stadium for the first time gives it a new context that touches and wakes the soul. Only now Angene feels his own soul waking for the first time. As the window expands and opens, the vast night sky begins to open up to him, and the stars begin to give him new meaning, each one taking on the note to a score he's never heard, and yet couldn't feel more familiar with. The mysteries of the universe first seemed so large and expansive. These never would have been within his grasp of understanding. But as he's begun his adventure and seen other cultures of the world, he begins to see a structure, or is able to recognize patterns that offer him some clarity, like notes on a page or words written in a speech conveying a sound or some great idea. He can recognize the smaller parts if he focuses, but as the image or the piece continues, he loses its meaning in its complex execution. But there is something in him screaming that it can not only be understood, but also manipulated in a way that he can both read and articulate as an orator as well as a musician. The notes and timings he can work out rest upon his soul and take shape like extra-dimensional constellations that, for now, he can only admire. And in their beauty, something is revealed to him. Their brilliant, blazing power. He may not understand them to their fullest extent, nor may he ever, but upon him he has been gifted their ability to understand how they might be manipulated to his control. Along with this sudden realization, he is able to grasp yet another partition to this majestic landscape. How to convey wonderful words of encouragement to his friends and push them further than they ever thought possible. Angene has acquired new talents and abilities he never knew existed. He does not wake in his bedroom. He wakes with his friends, a new son of song. And the song has already started. I gotta go right to Erevan. Erevan surrenders for this night of rest and meditation. The sound of wading waters and bog critters fill his ears, the smells of the moist air hanging in their waves raising the ambient temperature. 100 lessons from his schooling pass him at once. His days with his friends and his professors, as well as his first time ever using black powder. Excuse me. He recalls and relives the times with his best friend Calvin and the lifetime of memories they shared together. And he recalls the pain he felt when Professor Kaelana, Calvin's mother, came to take Jack away to face the tribunal. Erevan begins to sweat as the moments of his fumbling and awkwardness with his weapon added to the danger of the day when his fellow students were attacked by that massive beast they had seen. The loud explosions from the barrels of their guns ringing in his ears, mixing with the roars of the beast and the screams of his friends. And he most clearly recalls Jack, and his tireless execution of aiming, firing, and reloading, even when under extreme duress. E, L, F. Eyes on your target, level the weapon, and fire. The core principles that made a good shooter into a great one. These were the fundamental tools that Jack never forgot. And it showed in his determination every day. Erevan's mind shifted to his father. The days he spent doing basic chores around the house and telling his only son that one day he'd hear about his life abroad and the adventures he lived. Erevan knew his father had an exciting life from his mother's bedtime stories, and he had always wanted to hear more of them, but never quite felt the time was right. Despite this, his father always lived as the pinnacle of elves in his eyes. He lived in adventure. He fought in the Battle of Miracles, for which the city gained its name. He broke all social expectations and married an elf of another clan, and to this day cannot speak of their vows without having tears in his eyes. In that moment, Erevan's mind stopped, and froze in time the faces of the people that influenced him most. The memories in time aligning themselves like the most difficult trick shot he could only ever hope to achieve. He knows what he wants to be. He wants to be the adventuring romantic, much like his father, unafraid of the path ahead, and to be wise and dexterous in all situations, even the unexpected ones. But he was going to do this in his own style, just as Jack had always done in his. And by melding these two great ideals together, he knows that one day he will become that which he seeks to be. And the best part? It begins now. A new sentence, a new chapter, a new book. Erevan has taken the first steps to becoming the adventurer he has always wanted to be. He emerges from his trance, a fighter. Nice. And so for Jake, since yours is coming up next, I have to time yours very carefully. As soon as I hear it play. So I have to let this one build up for a little bit. Yeah, I did not realize how hard it was going to be to change tones like that from Alena to Angene until it happened. I'm glad I practiced. Okay, Jake, if you're ready, I'm ready.
Mm-hmm.
Harratuk sits back and allows rest to overtake his mind. However, this time, his brow furrows and his mind never truly finds peace. His mind wanders throughout the night about the choices and circumstances of life, both within and outside of his control. He flashes back to the nights he spent in cages, poked and prodded by Melbourne's annoying and weak guards. He thought of the times he felt the cruelty of a whip upon his back, the lashes and scars hidden under his thick fur that are just as visible to him now as though they were entirely unobscured. His mixed feelings of freedom rage through his mind. He escaped a life of servitude, only to find himself back in chains of a different kind. He lost Krug. He lost Sophia. And it's burning inside him. At the end of every sentence, of every thought and mental scenario he puts himself through and envisions at the end of the day, there's only one man who stands in his way between what would truly constitute freedom. Lord Melbourne. As the great beast ponders this dynamic, a thought occurred to him. The kind of thought that once experienced cannot be shaken or put out of one's mind. What does Harratuk fear? What chains bind him to weakness? What cage now is there to keep this beast contained? A new version of Harratuk was created in his mind. Or perhaps a new perception. Harratuk is uncaged. He knows he can unleash, and he knows it's time to turn up the fucking volume. Whereas he has always been treated like an animal and controlled like a pest, he knows he can release. His very muscles pulse and grow as his rage is felt for the first time in its deepest form. A bonding takes place that will never be broken. His animal instincts fuse together with his barbaric mindset to create a nearly unstoppable force. The scars beneath on his skin remind him that he needs no armor. He is his own armor. Just as his muscles grow, so does his mind and his reflexes. With his strength comes a recklessness he can use to his advantage. Harratuk the Barbarian has been freed. And he has all the patience in the world to build up the strength and the technique to set his sights on Lord Melbourne. Harratuk wakes up a fucking barbarian. And last but certainly not least is Karl. And I have to wait for his song to start as well, because his also has very delicate timing. Karl's mind finds rest and sleep in the night. The most time he has ever spent in both sunlight and starlight has surely been the most excitement he has seen in a long time. The sound of distant clanging rings in his ears, a sound with which he is most familiar: mining. Within his mind flashes different scenes and images from the mines to the beat of the impact, fading in and out repeatedly. In the first few moments he sees the vast valley of the mines, the hundreds of thousands of homes dug into the canyon walls, hidden from the light of day. The only stone remaining between the walls being used as bridges between for both miles down and across. Several other locations appear to him: the Abyss Bar, the Forge, his home, or what he used to think of as home. His anxiety begins to rise as faces begin to appear in the sound of the pickaxe swings, the pace increasing along with his heartbeat. Gardain, Shale, Gemma, Flint, Madrid, and Greta. Each moment reminding him of the constant powerlessness he felt on an hourly basis on the worst days. And now with the debt that hangs over him, he is unsure if he will be able to return home with any honor. Honor? Why would he need honor to return home? To see his family? He entered a strange land with nothing but a slave ring around his wrist and has risen further on his own 2 feet with the closest friends he's ever had. What good has honor served him? Even in this new world, he has fallen several times and failed to hit an enemy in battles plural. Yet the closest friends to him have never faltered in their support. And that makes Karl furious. Why exactly this is, or at whom it is directed, is unclear, and has no proper articulation. At least not yet. But the gut-wrenching feeling in the pit of his stomach, this new form of desire or purpose, rises above even the loudest of pickaxe swings on the hardest of stone. Karl sees himself at the bottom of the valley, where he has spent centuries digging his own well of anxiety and depression, where he has spent his entire life looking down. And he begins to gaze upwards, towards the surface. What is an impossible climb by every measure is nothing more than his greatest force to conquer. He can see the plateaus along the wall where he can scarcely make out silhouettes of mysterious figures who seem to beckon to him, and he begins to climb. With anger in his heart, resentment in his soul, and the passion for redemption raging in his mind, he does climb. His armoring only weighing him down, he removes it and relies on his movement and constitution to defend him. As never before, he can feel his senses changing with him, detecting danger before it befalls him, avoiding rock slides and unstable grounding. Sweat drips from his aching back and palms, and further still he climbs until he realizes he has done something he formerly thought impossible. He has ascended. Even if only a little, he has begun to change his status, his strength, and his outlook on life itself. He has become an adventurer, a barbarian, a new dwarf. He rests on the first plateau and continues to gaze upwards, ready to face the greatest challenge of his life. He awakes anew with his friends. Thank you. Those are the 5. And Kyle. Thank you.
Hooray!
Kyle, please roll that d4.
4.
Oh, shit.
That's good.
Yeah, so Alena overnight grows 6 inches.
Oh,
All right.
She is a lot
So
taller.
5'11" now.
Yeah.
All right.
now we're officially the the tall boys and the valley.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, everybody's giant. Adam, were you here? Did you hear yours?
Yes. I was
Nice. Sick.
here. My computer restarted, so I jumped on my phone real quick when it did that wonky forced restart for me. So.
Okay, yeah, as long as you heard it. Yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed that. I
Yes.
can't even tell you how many nights I've spent staring at this stupid screen. Like, all right, this has got to be good. Like, really fucking good.
It's very good.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That
Music
was
was
awesome.
sweet.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you guys have any questions? So, there are a lot of themes that it's like nested, and there's like nested themes and nested themes in like the blanket of your character and class, and I thought it would be better not to take notes the first time, just so you guys could actually hear what was going on. And so like,
Yeah, where's the SoundCloud link? Are you gonna record these for us to re-listen to?
I think I can rip the audio from this video, but yeah, I could re-record them. Yes, I'm more than happy to do that.
Or just upload it to YouTube. Yeah.
Yes, the evolutions. This is being streamed and recorded. This will be on YouTube, and there's a way to timestamp stuff on YouTube. I'll have to figure that out just so you guys can jump right to it.
Hell yeah.
And Christian says, "Congrats on your evolution, my friends. Deep gorks to you all. Thank you, Christian. You're up next week." But yeah, I mean, you know, I do all this for you guys, and I've said it to Christian, I think maybe 100 times now. Like, I wouldn't put half the effort in if I didn't think you guys weren't going to give it back 110%. You know,
Hell yeah.
say it every session if I have to. You guys are a DM's absolute fucking dream team, and I want to feed into that.
Fuck yeah.
So
Good shit, Joe.
thank you.
Mm-hmm.
To the stream, thank you for anybody who stopped by for this real quick little evolution story. These guys will be back in a week and a half now, a week from Friday, for their session 11, the first as their characters. Huzzah.
Level 2?
Hell yeah.